Okay, I'm working on my 2008 Mazda 6 here, and going to be replacing the radiator on here. And coincidentally, the condenser is also bad, so we're going to be doing them both at the same time. Just wanted to give you a view of this in here back behind this radiator support. You can see where you have your metal part here that meets up with the plastic, and this is a very common area for these to start leaking. And these radiators just don't last that long anymore, and so that's where this one was leaking back up in behind here. So if you have a leak and you can't figure out where it is, you might take a look up here and see if it's leaking at this where it's joined together. So we're going to go ahead and get started. You can also see that there is not a lot of room to do anything here, and what we're going to have to do is remove a lot of stuff to get access to this. First thing we're going to need to get us a drain pan, and you'll need a Phillips screwdriver. We're going to come underneath right in the center. There's going to be a drain plug. Okay, we're underneath here. There's our drain plug, and we're just going to go ahead and remove that. I don't know that all of these will be the same for the drain plug, but this one's just a little Phillips. And just unscrew that completely and get your drain plug ready. Okay, with that plug completely out, we'll just come over here, remove this top cap to go ahead and let air in. It'll start draining a lot quicker. We're just going to drain this thing completely for a while. Okay, with that drainer, we're going to get to work on this bumper. I'm going to start over here in the fender wells. You're going to have some little plastic snaps in here that you're going to have to pop out. They'll look like this and may have some push pins. You just back that off and push that center pin out and pop those off. These have already been removed. There's going to be one Phillips screw right back up here. You can see it right there. I've started removing it right there. Go ahead and take that out. That's the only Phillips screw that's holding this back here. Okay, now we're going to just come underneath here. Right here on the side, we're going to come right under here, and we're going to have several. We got 1, 2, 3, and 4. We're going to head and take all 4 of these, and that will release this flap from the front of this bumper right here. So we're going to go ahead and get these 4 off here. Okay, so moving on over right here in the center of the car, we're going to have a couple of these 10 millimeters that we're going to need to take out. We got one right here we're going to need to remove, and then we look right over here and we got this one. We're going to go ahead and take both of those out. Okay, moving on over to the passenger side, we'll just get these 4 that are on this flap, just like we took off on the other side there. Okay, and then on the passenger side, we're going to peel this back and look right in there and get that Phillips headed screw that's right back there where my finger's pointing. Okay, and there's that screw, the only one that's holding it on this side, and then that will pop out of there. Okay, now so we'll just come up here to the top. We've got a big Phillips screw right here. Just remove this completely, and we'll do the same thing to this one right here. And then we got a couple of little push pop pins there that will come out. Okay, so I'm just popping these up, and it'll come loose from there. Okay, and with that, everything should be loose. We should be able to start working it out. It's completely loose. We're going to have a couple of wire connectors. See one right there. We'll need to reach in there and depress that and disconnect that. We'll also need to do the same thing on the other side over there, and then this is ready just to pop right off. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and just remove both headlights. We've got two up here. We've got one right here on the side, and we also have one right there, one right over here. So we got 5 of those all together holding the light. So we're going to go ahead, this one, this one, this one, and then these 2 right down here. Okay, so the light is loose, and we just got one connector. Those bolts out. We got one connector right here. We just need to reach in there and push that down and work that off of there. Okay, we just set that aside. Now we're just going to do the exact same thing over here and remove this one. Okay, what I'm going to do now is take these 2 10mm right here. These here are 12s. You got 2 on the top, 2 on the bottom, on each side. I'm going to take all of them and leave the one top until I can get a hand on it, and then we'll take the other 2 out. Okay, I left one on each side. We're going to go ahead and take out this 10mm. We're going to go ahead and take out this one here, and this one here, and this one here. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and take out this one and this one here, and I'll probably have to get a hand on this thing because it's going to be loose. Okay, we just set that aside. Now the only thing that we've got holding this is one 10mm here and one here. Now I'm just going to completely take this off here. Now I messed with this before, so this harness that runs in front of these fans here is going to be clipped on yours. You're going to have to pop these little clips and stuff off. But what I'm going to do at this point is I'm going to go ahead and just take this loose and take this one loose, and I'm going to set it like on this or something. I'm just going to go ahead and pull it back, and it's going to give me the slack, and then I'll disconnect the fan harnesses and disconnect the hose. Okay, I've just got it sitting there loose. We've got a few sensors. We're going to go ahead and take this one out. Make sure your battery is disconnected. And we're going to take this connector right here loose. That has a red tab. You have to just pull back and then depress that, and it comes right off. This one, I just popped it off out of those tabs, and we're just going to feed those right back through. Just remember where they came through at. Okay, this hood pop is not a big deal. You just pull up, it just pops down in there. You can see that. You can pull this up with your fingers. See how I just popped it right out? And if you just get a little slack, you can pull this out enough just to slip this wire right out of there. It's not a big deal. I can't do it one-handed, but I'm just going to push back and it'll slip. It's got enough slack that I can slip it right out of that slot right there. Okay, and there that is. Like I said, I'm just going to push it back through. Just remember where it routed, where it came through here. Okay, there is an Freon line right here. It's got a 10mm. Go ahead and take that. Okay, now I mentioned before I started the video that I'm replacing the radiator and the condenser. Now there's a couple ways you can do this. There's some little slides right here that clip this thing in. There's a little grommet kind of goes on there like that, and that just locks in there. So you push that back with a screwdriver or whatever, and so I can't really do it one-handed, but you slide that back and that allows it to release that top. Okay, now make sure you get something else to prop your hood up before you start moving this thing around here. Okay, so I've removed both of those, and this shell will lift up and start coming off. There's some rubber grommets on the bottom as well. You can see here I'm just taking this out from off here completely. Okay, there's one little wire I forgot right here. It's not a big deal. Just push down on that and disconnect it. Okay, and there's that shell just set aside. Now in my case, I didn't have to remove that way because I'm going to be disconnecting. I don't have any Freon in the system, and we're going to be disconnecting these lines anyway. So I could have just disconnected this and this and just pulled the whole thing off and messed with it out here. Okay, so I just wanted to give you another view of how this goes together. You can see the rubber grommets on the bottom the radiator sets into, and then up here it had the little slide plastic pieces and the grommets that held it up here. So that's all that holds that radiator in there to that piece. So it just gives you an idea of how that goes together. And then you're left with this right here. And like I said, in your case, if you're not changing the condenser, it'd be a little bit more difficult because you got to just kind of wiggle it out of here. But you just take these bolts here loose, and then you would take and have your hoses loose and slide it. Looks like you could slide it out, but you may have to you may want to go ahead and disconnect the fan just to make it a little bit easier. But it looks like with that loose that you would have no problem just sliding that radiator and fan assembly out together, because this condenser will have some slack a little bit where you can move it around. So you would take those and you would just slide your radiator up and out. Said in my case, I'm taking them off together because there's no Freon. So I'm going to disconnect this line here. I'll put a little tape on it just to minimize the air. Disconnect this line here. I've already disconnected this clamp right here, and I'll go ahead and get this upper hose and get it out of the way for now. So I think I'm going to go ahead and just get this upper hose, and then I'll go ahead and disconnect my Freon lines here. Okay, so I just took that hose off, disconnected that line. Make sure that you have your Freon. There's no Freon in the system if you're doing this. Just getting ready to disconnect this other 10mm right here. And you can really tell the condition . You can see where it's been leaking down through here. Okay, so I just have this propped up here. Like I said, I previously removed the snaps holding this wire to the front of the fans, and now I've just got to push down on these and disconnect these connectors going to the fans right here. And we've also Got a few transmission cooler lines that we'll need to disconnect here. We're going to disconnect the big hose right here at this junction. Now this would normally be clamped down, but I had to take that loose for another project. It's really not hurting a thing, but I'm going to disconnect it here just for the ease. Got two of these 10 millimeters we're going to take loose for these transmission cooler lines right here on the front of this fan. Okay, so we're just popping these transmission cooler lines off down here, and just get you a pan, something ready. Probably could take these hoses and kind of pull them back up here out of the way so they're not just draining. Just pull them up there like that, and they shouldn't drip. And we've got this hose disconnected here. We'll just need to get it. So everything is completely disconnected now, where we can just set this off. Okay, so here it is out. We'll just need to get our new radiator, and we'll bolt up the fans and use all the bolts and everything that we need off of this one here. Just make sure everything that matches up. And you can see this is in pretty bad condition. And we're going to also have to get a replacement fan, it looks like, on this side here. I hadn't even noticed that prior until I was taking this out, but I mean, that will cause a lot of issues right there. So we'll need to get one of those as well. But right now we're just going to work on taking this loose, and we'll get our new radiator and stuff. Okay, right now I'm just going to take these 4 10 millimeters out of this condenser first and remove it. Okay, with those 4 bolts, this just lifts right out of the way. I said, if you're replacing any AC stuff, this dryer is built right on to the condenser, so it's a good idea to replace this while you're at it. These things will get clogged up and pretty much be useless. And here's a look at this. Okay, so now I've just took here on the front side, or this side, the fan side, I've took these 2 10 millimeters, and this should just lift up and out of these grommets here. And looks like my hose was attached. And then that gets the whole fan assembly off of there. And the only other thing I need to get off here is just the big hose right there. Like I said, it's easier to disconnect it at that one point that I showed you. Just doing a quick comparison of the old and new radiator, making sure that everything looks okay. And you can see this spout here was starting to crumble, and you got some rubber pieces here that you'll need to move over. So anything that we need to move over, we'll have to go ahead and do that. I'm just getting ready to put the hose on it here. Everything else, other than just the little bolts and stuff. So I think we're going to go ahead and just get our hose, lower hose, and then we'll get our fans mounted up here. Okay, so we're getting ready to mount our fans. This is a new fan assembly. It wasn't very easy finding just a replacement fan, so I got the whole assembly. These will range anywhere from like $70 to $100 depending on if you order it. I ordered mine, it was only like $70. You want to make sure that these connectors right here match the connectors that are on your car though, and that's what I looked at the closest. So we're just going to go ahead and set this into place, and you'll want to use a lot of care with your radiator that you don't bang your fins up. And we're just going to take our bolts and put them right where they go. We just got a couple over here. So just sets on there like that. All there is to it. Said for the price wasn't bad. Now we got a couple of new fans and everything. We don't have to worry about it. Okay, so I'm getting ready to put this together on this side. It just has the 4 bolts that we'll remove from the old radiator. We'll just put them back on there so we wasn't losing them. Now you just, you know, because this is a snug fit and this pipe comes around, you have to kind of slide this condenser in from the left side there. That's all I'm doing, is just sliding this whole thing with the fan and everything on, and again using caution not to mess and bang our fins up here while we're doing this, because it's very easy to do. You'll notice that this radiator also has these plastic pegs, and so did the old one, to kind of help hold it there while you, and kind of line it up while you get the bolts started. Okay, so I'm just going through and snugging these all down, these 10 millimeters. Okay, so now we're ready to go ahead and start getting things hooked up and get set back onto the front of the car here. Okay, so we got us something here to set it on, and you'll note the cardboard. Like I said, these fins are so easily damaged while I'm just bungling around. I don't want to take a chance of messing my brand new condenser up, so I just taped a small piece of cardboard. I think I'm going to go ahead and hook our transmission cooler lines up first. Those seem to be the most difficult to get to there, so I'm going to go ahead and route them. I'm going to set it up here on this and route those, and then I'll get the lower hose. And you'll note there are a few other things we need off the old fan assembly. For one, we're going to need our tank, and we're going to need these assortment of clamps and hold downs here, so we need to move them over. Okay, so I've just moved these 2 clips here and here for the transmission cooler lines, and I'm going to get those bolted up here. Okay, and it's a good idea to go ahead and plug those transmission coolers on. Said that one goes over there, that one back here, so they're not dripping. And then we just get our clamps right there. I went ahead and hooked up that big hose for clamping these transmission cooler lines, just while I have more slack here. And we'll go ahead and get our connectors, I think, here next, and we've about got everything we need here. We can start popping that front back on. Now you'll notice that these connectors have wires running from the motors, whereas the original were just right on there, right onto the motor. But this is actually, I think, better because it gives you more slack to connect these things. And if you need to, you can just always use a zip tie or something and fasten it out of the way. Now I'm just taking this clamp that holds that Freon line, and we're going to transfer it, and we'll need this little clip right here too, so we'll need to pry that off. Okay, now I'm just hooking up this upper hose. Now you'll notice on my lower hose that bracket wasn't fastened. I left it that way just because every time I've had to work on it, that thing has been more trouble to take loose, and it's really not necessary. Okay, so I went ahead and hooked up that lower Freon line. I'm getting ready You'll note the red high strength Loctite. This condenser comes with these studs, so we're going to Loctite these in here. Now you may have to take a couple of nuts and jam them if you have trouble screwing this thing in. Okay, so we have our Freon lines hooked up and everything. I'm just getting ready to take this cardboard back off and get our front piece over there on now. And we'll get these we got a few other connectors pulled up here that we'll have to connect, and we'll get those here. Okay, let's show you again. You got these nubs on the bottom of your radiator down here that are just going to fit right into these, and that's the first thing we're going to slip into place. We've got these little clips up here out so we can slide it right onto the top. We got our bottoms into place, and this top just slid right over. We got these little rubber grommets, and we're going to get them back into position. And that's all there is to that. Then we'll take our clips, snap those. Okay, so that one is locked into place. It didn't pop though. Just routed this back through, connected it, and connected this wire right here. This one wire right here for this sensor, I just pushed it back through. I'm going to do this connection. Okay, with that, we're going to go ahead and get our bolts. Pull this back up here and get our bolts on each side up here now. I'm going to go ahead and get this tank off of this old one. You'll notice these little nubs right there. You'll have to spread that with a screwdriver or something to be able to pop that up and out of there. Just need to pry up on it a little bit because it's being held by those little nubs. It's got one on each side there. This bottom here also kind of locks it into place, kind of clips. You got to squeeze that together, and that's all there is to that. Now we can move it over. And just to show you, I did get it in there. I actually forgot to put that on there though, but I had to take just this Freon bracket right here loose, and I was able just to slip it down in there. And we'll just also plug it in right here. And now we're ready to go ahead, and we're going to start putting this front brace back on here. So I just got a couple of bolts started in. I was careful to push this piece back up, and we'll want to get the bolts back in that. And also we'll need to pull this up slightly to make sure that these here are lining up. Now the top ones for the headlight, we won't put that one in just yet. It's the longer, more brass looking bolt, but we can get these other ones in. Just going through and tightening my 12 millimeters. You can kind of tell where this thing was located by looking at the marks that the washers left, and kind of get it back in the same location. I doubt that it matters a whole lot. Just going through and tightening the 10 millimeters that hold this plastic part to this one there. Remember, this one is the one that goes to the headlight, so leave that out. And we got this one here, and we got these two here. These don't have to be terribly tight because these are just little inserts that go into this plastic or fiberglass. I'm putting this cover back over this sensor. Just has the bolt right there, 10 millimeter. I'm just going to snug that back down. I'm going to route this cable that goes to the hood latch, and it just come through here about where this hose was, and I'm going to run it right through here. So I'm going to work on that. And just like undoing this, it just slipped. I slipped the wire right back in behind this where you can see that there's room to slip it, and then I'm just going to pop it right back into place here, and you can hear it snapping. That's all there is to that. So just finish snugging these two. I'm going to go ahead and get the headlight set in here. We just got the one plug in and the 5 bolts. Okay, it does have a plastic pop here that when you slide it back, don't really know what the purpose of it is, but it's there. The one on the other side is missing. But when you slide it on here, you got this that it goes over the top of, and then over here it just kind of holds it in place till you get your 5 bolts in. Got these top ones. We got the side one, getting ready to get the lower, which is right here. And then we got this long one. We said it's kind of the lighter looking of the bolts. It goes right in there, you can see. Okay, and with our lights back in, we're ready to go ahead and get our bumper secured back up here. I've just set it up here and kind of got my push pins into place first. I think I'll go ahead and get this Phillips screw that goes here and here, just kind of loosely get it into place so it ain't falling. And then we just have to work this back into place here. It just requires a little lifting and pushing and popping it back in there. And we just got our little Phillips screw that goes right in here on this inside. We got to pull this back a little bit. So we're just popping in this side. I'm going to do the same thing, just get that one screw in there. Okay, on each one of these sides we're going to have these 4 Phillips. And we're going to go right under here to hold this flap. Okay, now we're over here on the driver's side. Going to do the same thing, just get our 4 Phillips or 8mm in this flap over here. Okay, now we're getting ready to get on these 2 10mm that we got right here on each side of the center. We're going to go ahead and get those into place here. Okay, so we're all finished up getting our radiator, condenser, and our new fans in here. And the only thing I'm going to do is put back the coolant that I took out and refill that as needed. So it's not too bad of a job. So that's going to conclude this video. As always, if you found it helpful, give it a like. Always invite you to subscribe. And I thank y'all for watching.